The studio had been roaring with laughter just moments earlier. Bright lights filled the stage, the audience clapped between every joke, and the energy felt almost electric. Then, without warning, everything changed. A producer rushed across the stage with unusual urgency, holding a single black phone. Steve Harvey glanced at the screen, and the smile that had entertained millions instantly disappeared. His expression froze. The laughter faded. The cameras kept rolling, but nobody knew what had happened. For one unforgettable moment, the entire studio held its breath, wondering why one simple phone call had the power to stop one of television's biggest shows. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, forgiveness, and second chances can truly change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share this story with someone you love, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories like this to people around the world. The audience exchanged nervous glances while Steve remained completely still. The producer quietly whispered something before placing the phone into his hand. There was no script for this moment. No rehearsed reaction. Whatever was waiting on the other end of that call had interrupted a live television production, something that almost never happened. Steve slowly lifted the phone to his ear. As he listened, his confident posture softened. His eyes filled with concern, and for several long seconds he said nothing at all. Even the audience members in the front rows stopped smiling. The room, usually filled with applause and excitement, became so quiet that people could almost hear their own hearts beating. Nobody knew that miles away, in a small hospital room, a young woman named Emily was holding on to hope by the thinnest thread imaginable. She was only 26 years old. Her life had once been filled with dreams of becoming an elementary school teacher. She loved children, volunteered every weekend, and believed every person deserved encouragement during difficult times. But everything changed after a devastating car accident claimed the lives of both her parents and left her with permanent injuries. The physical pain was only the beginning. Medical bills quickly piled higher than she could afford. Her apartment was gone. Her teaching career was postponed indefinitely. Friends who had once promised to stay by her side slowly disappeared as the months became years. Loneliness settled into her heart like an endless winter. There was only one thing that continued giving her strength. Every afternoon, while recovering in rehabilitation, she watched episodes of Steve Harvey's shows. His jokes made her laugh when nothing else could. His motivational speeches reminded her that failure was never final. Whenever she felt ready to give up, she replayed one sentence he often shared: "Your present circumstances do not determine where you can go, they merely determine where you start." Those words became her daily prayer. The nurses noticed the change. On difficult therapy days, they would play Steve's videos on the television. Somehow, she always found enough courage to keep going. Months later, one of the nurses decided to write a heartfelt letter explaining Emily's story. She never expected anyone famous to read it. She simply wanted someone to know how one television host had unknowingly become a lifeline for someone fighting through unimaginable pain. The letter traveled through countless offices before finally reaching one of Steve Harvey's producers. That was the phone now resting in Steve's trembling hand. On the other end of the line was the same nurse. Emily had taken a sudden turn for the worse that morning. Doctors were unsure whether she would survive the night. There was only one final wish she kept repeating between treatments. She wanted to hear Steve Harvey tell her not to give up. When Steve learned why the call had come, he quietly removed his microphone and walked away from the center of the stage. The audience watched respectfully as producers adjusted cameras and whispered instructions behind the scenes. Nobody complained about the delay. Somehow everyone sensed they were witnessing something much more important than television. Steve asked to be connected immediately. As the phone reached Emily's room, every nurse standing nearby stepped back. Tears already filled their eyes because they knew how much this moment meant. Emily could barely speak. The treatments had exhausted her, and every breath required tremendous effort. Yet when she heard Steve's familiar voice greeting her, something remarkable happened. Her tired eyes opened wider, and a faint smile slowly appeared across her face. Steve spoke gently, reminding her that courage is not measured by how loud someone laughs or how strong they appear. Real courage is choosing hope when every reason to quit stands directly in front of you. He told her that she had already inspired countless people simply by refusing to surrender. The entire television audience remained silent. People in the studio began wiping away tears. Several crew members forgot they were working. Nobody expected the emotional weight of that simple conversation. Steve never rushed. He listened carefully as Emily thanked him for unknowingly helping her survive the darkest years of her life. She explained that every therapy session became possible because she imagined him reminding people never to let yesterday define tomorrow. Steve himself became emotional. For years, millions had watched him encourage strangers, celebrate families, and make audiences laugh. Yet in that moment he realized something deeper. Words spoken into a camera could travel far beyond a television studio. They could quietly become someone's reason to keep living. When the call finally ended, Steve stood silently for several moments. He looked across the audience before admitting that entertainers often wonder whether their work truly matters. Awards fade. Ratings change. Fame eventually disappears. But knowing that one hurting person found hope because of simple words spoken with honesty, that was something no trophy could ever equal. The audience rose together in a standing ovation unlike any the show had ever experienced. But the story did not end there. Instead of returning immediately to filming, Steve asked his producers for Emily's information. Quietly, without publicity, he contacted people who specialized in medical assistance, rehabilitation, housing support, and financial counseling. Within days, volunteers began organizing resources that Emily never imagined existed. A charity agreed to help reduce her overwhelming medical expenses. Another organization donated adaptive equipment for her recovery. Former teachers reached out with encouraging letters, reminding her that her dream of educating children did not have to disappear forever. The community slowly gathered around someone who had believed she was completely alone. News of the private effort remained hidden for months because Steve insisted the focus should remain on Emily rather than himself. He believed genuine kindness did not require headlines. Recovery remained painfully slow. Some mornings Emily felt hopeful. Other mornings she wondered whether life would ever become normal again. Healing rarely follows a straight line. There were setbacks, surgeries, infections, and endless rehabilitation sessions. Yet every difficult day she remembered one sentence Steve had spoken during their call. "You've already survived every bad day you've ever faced." Those words became stronger than fear. As time passed, Emily regained enough strength to begin volunteering online with children recovering from illness. She read stories over video calls, helped students practice reading, and encouraged families facing difficult circumstances. Without realizing it, she became for others exactly what Steve Harvey had become for her. Hope multiplied. Months later, the television production arranged a surprise invitation. Emily believed she was attending a small charity event. Instead, she walked into the very studio where everything had begun. The audience already knew her story. As cameras rolled, Steve welcomed her onto the stage. This time she wasn't lying in a hospital bed. She wasn't speaking through exhaustion. She walked carefully, supported by determination earned through countless months of pain. The applause lasted several minutes. Many audience members openly cried. Steve embraced her like family. Neither needed dramatic speeches because everyone understood what they were witnessing. This wasn't simply a reunion. It was proof that compassion can create ripples reaching far beyond one conversation. Steve reminded everyone that we never truly know what another person is carrying. A smile offered to a stranger, an encouraging message, or a few minutes spent listening can become the turning point in someone's life. Emily later fulfilled another dream. Although her physical limitations prevented full-time classroom teaching, she launched an online learning program for hospitalized children unable to attend school. Volunteers from across the country joined her mission, helping thousands of young patients continue learning despite serious illnesses. The girl who once believed her future had ended became someone else's beginning. Years afterward, whenever Steve reflected on unforgettable moments from his career, he rarely mentioned celebrity interviews or famous guests. He remembered a simple phone, a worried producer, a silent audience, and one courageous young woman who reminded him that genuine human connection will always matter more than entertainment. Her story spread quietly, inspiring hospitals, teachers, volunteers, and families everywhere. People realized that hope often arrives in unexpected forms. Sometimes it comes through doctors. Sometimes through loved ones. Sometimes through complete strangers. And sometimes through a familiar voice coming from a television screen at exactly the right moment. The greatest miracle was never fame. It was compassion. It was choosing to stop everything for another human being. Because in the end, the most unforgettable moments are rarely planned. They happen when someone decides another person's pain deserves their full attention. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who may need encouragement today, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment letting us know what message gave you the most hope. Your support helps inspiring stories reach more people who may be silently struggling. Special request: before you go, please comment with the words, "Kindness still matters." Your message may encourage someone reading the comments who desperately needs hope today. As the studio lights slowly dimmed that evening, everyone walked away carrying the same unforgettable lesson. Success is measured not only by the lives we build, but by the lives we lift. A single phone call, answered with compassion instead of convenience, changed 2 lives forever. One woman found the strength to keep fighting, and one television host was reminded that the greatest legacy any person can leave behind is not applause, but hope. And sometimes, hope begins the moment someone decides to stop everything and simply answer the call.